You're the first repeat guest. When we recorded the first time, we were upstairs.
That's correct.
And now we're in the dungeon with...
It is a curtain-filled, dark environment. It breeds great conversation, though.
There's curtains upstairs now, too.
Are there? Yeah, that's right, though.
There's just a lot of depression around.
Well, you know, we're here to be a beacon of hope and light, right?
Welcome into the Ben Burnett Show. My name is Ben Burnett. This is an App and Media podcast. My guest today and first repeat guest on the podcast is my man, Wendell Strickland from Strongside Solutions. Wendell, welcome in.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for having me back again, Ben.
Yeah, listen, you've been knocking down the door, begging to come back to tell more stories.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to take the opportunity to give you the chance and brag as the first sponsor in. It was like, you know what? This is the least we can do. We've been so good for business that it was just time to come back and see if we couldn't generate more positivity and good lead flow for Strongside Solutions.
It has been a delightful experience.
Well, I wanted to ask you, obviously, that you've seen some things change in this ever-changing healthcare market. I wanted to see if we could take a couple minutes and just see where your business has gone and what you guys are currently doing today from the last time we talked. What changes are there? You got anybody else you want to brag about?
Always.
Go for it, man. Rip it.
Oh, my goodness. So, golly gee, where do we start? So business is just amazing. We have seen more and more opportunities. I think the message is getting out a little bit. We have decided that our real gift and role in this environment is education. We've found that we find ourselves in a unique position where we are trying to educate a business model that's very complex. Most people don't understand it, but once they do, usually during that conversation, they have an aha moment. Oh my gosh, I knew something was wrong. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that's exactly how it worked, but I thought something was going on. And then they always have the, well, now what conversation? And that's where Strongside Solutions and our product eBenefits really comes in, is the now what. And it's the restructuring that whole supply chain of healthcare, kind of putting it back together, eliminating the middleman and gaining 40% efficiency. So we have a couple of success stories and a couple of aha moments we have that I'd like to share as well.
Yeah, I want to hear. I'm confident that the machine has figured out that there are companies like yours that are out there. By all means, sure. I love to listen to when big business wises up to little people that do things in a better way.
Well, and I think that's certainly the case here. I'm going to start with a success story, then I'm going to talk with an aha. How's that sound?
Yeah, go for it.
So success story. So little city down by the airport. So remember, as I don't know if your audience remembers, or if you remember from the last time we spoke, is we are cost management consultants. We don't really provide brokerage services in that sense, because that's an ugly label.
Over healthcare and healthcare insurance.
Over healthcare and healthcare insurance. So what we have are grants, foundations that we own and operate and search and write for. And one of the impacts we've had, and this is not insurance, okay? This is how do you better manage the cost of the program? Risk management, cost management, how do you defer, transfer, or eliminate risk? And one of the ways we did this beautiful little city down by the airport, City of Hateville. Let's just go ahead and talk about it.
Literally right down.
Yeah, City of Hateville. Talked to Tim Young down there. He was fantastic. Their whole council down there has been very supportive. There was a situation where there was an expense on a particular drug that was $1.7 million. One drug, one person for a year. And it was absolutely causing their utilization to go through the roof. And they were getting a 30% increase, $600,000 after $600,000.
Spread across all the employees that work
133 employees. Another, smaller employer that we're impacting and doing great things for. We were able to get a medical hospital system and a provider of drugs and transportation and infusion, which is what this was, on a biweekly basis, to cover 100% of the cost of that, cover 100% of the cost of the employees' insurance premiums, 100% of their out-of-pocket expenses. And this was a a service person down at the city who was making, under $50,000 a year and was paying out of pocket $17,000 a year. I don't know how they survive in doing that. So the impact was,
it seems wrong.
It's just wrong. So so what we were able to do was remove that whole claim, improve the life of that employee, their spouse, and their children. Their son wasn't going to be able to go to college because this infusion could only happen in Atlanta. Now he's at University of Georgia, and they're doing it in his dorm room. I mean, all kind of things. We can kind of go on and on and on and on about how we impact lives. And notice I didn't say insurance. This is risk management. These are solutions. So there's one for you. So now this little city is running at about 40% less than they ran last year. They eliminated a 30% increase, and they're doing very, very well. They're just a shining example of how, if you get creative and you put solutions in place, that you can solve problems.
Absolutely. And I think that, healthcare is one of those things that regardless of where you sit in the political ideology, it's something that everybody agrees has challenges. And there aren't a lot of people out there with solutions that aren't brokered by some lobby.
So, large national company, large broker, large publicly traded something.
And
absolutely.
They all have an interest, whether it's to drive things towards, a single. If it's the politicians on one side, they're trying to drive things single payer to the left. If they're on the other side, they're trying to make sure that they're maximizing their ability to fundraise, trying to maximize their ability to maximize value for shareholders. You said it. Mm-hmm. What would you say as your aha? You said you found an aha moment and something that had never happened to you before.
So, when you start on this journey, you never know where it's going to go and how well it's going to work or the impact you're going to have on people, places, things, and companies. And so we had, for the first time, in my 14 years, where a carrier didn't want any innovation to enter in one of their clients. So they basically locked out an opportunity to save this client $1.5 million by guaranteeing their medical costs for 2 years. They gave a 2-year rate guarantee, which I've never seen before in my 14 years.
Do you think that that's going to become the trend with these companies? They realize that the only way that they can continue to maximize that shareholder value is to lock in somebody on a long-term deal to keep you out of it?
I don't really know. What I do know is that that they're going to have to look at this differently. They're going to be forced to evolve in some fashion, and if that is, hey, look, at the end of the day, it helped the client, right? They got a 2-year rate guarantee
that they could live with.
And who knows what's going to happen in 24 months? We're still going to be here, right? And when that carrier decides they have to cry uncle and they can't hold the rates anymore, we're still going to be here. So that was one, and I thought it was pretty telling to see how the market's reacting. Now we're a small player in the marketplace right now. We hope to change that, and we're doing that one client at a time. But it's interesting to see, isn't it? I mean, that's interesting.
You've got their attention.
That's interesting to me.
And I think that's one of the things, just professionally, when I have one of the large data center providers that will win an opportunity from me, and they've figured out that I'm in there, and even though I lose, I know they're watching. And I know that they're looking to see where else I can take the next opportunity and the next deal down. And sooner or later, you become one of those mid-market type of companies that you can no longer ignore. And I think that the relevance there of being the little guy and having that story and having that agility to be able to tackle things in different ways is really creative, because the large publicly traded behemoths, they do things in very few ways. They make changes very slowly.
That's right.
And so to have the agility to what you do, I think that the talk to me a little bit about what you guys see and if there are products that you're looking at rolling out, things of that nature. What do you guys see as the next big game changer for Strongside Solutions?
Well, there's a lot of things going on, and we're as I said, we're in the educational business now. All we want to do is meet with CFOs and CEOs and just educate them as to the truth as to how the supply chain works. And once they do that, once they're empowered with that knowledge, that can never be taken away from them. And now they can start making better decisions. And as we do that, and as we're continually looking at ways to just impact the cost on this model, one process that we're looking at is, you know how when you go to the pharmacy and you say, hey, if I give you my insurance card, it's this, but if I pay cash, it's that. Or let's say if you've ever been without insurance, there's probably people listening to us that haven't had insurance.
Before you even go on there, talk about what choosing to educate the average person who lives under a giant prescription drug plan. Tell them what cash pay means.
Okay. So,
and then I've got another question for you.
Well, and then, of course, that brings into play the gag order that the pharmacists had that Trump removed last year. Do you know about that? That you literally, when you went to the pharmacy, they could not tell you if there was a coupon or a lower cost drug available to you. Did you know about that?
No.
So it was an executive order last year. So fathom an industry that can't even talk to you about what's available because they have a legal gag order that was lifted last year. So this is how, I don't know what the word is, how weird this environment is, right? It's just like it's a non.
They're afraid of the marketplace of ideas.
That's right. So cash pay is when you go to a doctor, a hospital, a pharmacy, and if you say, for example, you do not have insurance or you do not want to present your insurance card, you can say, what can I pay for this as a cash payer? Codes like 99212 are the ICD codes that doctors use for cash pays. And if you go up there,
99212.
99212. Yeah, that's the code.
There you go. You pass that information along to everybody for free.
Well, there you go. Call us. We'll give you some more. But just think about the fact that you can go and let's take a colonoscopy, for example. Say you go to your doctor and you're 50, and you should. Everybody should go. That's right. Everybody should go. And then they're going to bill $3,500. They're going to net, some lower number than that. But if you go to them and say, if I pay you cash today, what's my cash price? And it's somewhere between $600 and $900. So let's say you have a high deductible health insurance plan.
And you're at the end of your year.
Does it even make sense to present your insurance card? Because you're going to pay $5,000, or you can say, hey, doc, I'll pay you right now with a check. What's the number? And he'll say, oh, it's $600. And you say, thank you very much. Here's your $600. Cross the plan year, and you start all over again, right? So there is a dual market out there. There is an insurance payor market, and there is a cash non-insured market out there. And so you can participate in either one. Just because you have health insurance doesn't mean you have to present your insurance card every single time. As a matter of fact, I always turn around and say, hey, doc, what can I pay you cash today to make this transaction as low as possible for not only for me, but for my employer? Because remember, you might only have a copay of $35 to do something or $200 to do something, but your employer might be picking up, thousands and thousands of dollars. So if you can help in that way, you lower the cost for everybody.
So we're going to shift gears here for a second. I know that you have been a resource to the state of Georgia with respect to the governor's new plan around health care. He's talking, at least in the press, they're billing it as a Medicaid expansion in Georgia, where the federal government is picking up 90 out of the 100 cents on the dollar, or 9 out of 10 cents. Talk to me real quick just about your experience and what you're seeing and what that legislation on the table is and what it means to the average person who lives within the state of Georgia.
Okay, I think that's either HB or SB 106. I think it's the House bill or Senate bill or whatever it is. I can't remember the exact numbers. But what it basically says is that the federal government and the more left-leaning side of our country, if I can just say, they kind of want to move towards a single-payer system, which in my mind, and if you look at Bernie and everybody, they flat out say we want socialism. So if we want to move in that direction,
he's at least honest.
At least he's honest about it. I mean, but it doesn't sell very well, right? So they have to disguise socialism and single-payer system with Medicare for all, right? That sounds great, right? It's the same thing. And so what they want to do is they want to expand the eligibility for Medicare financially up so that it encompasses a lot more people, right? That is one way to do it. I like Governor Kemp's approach.
Strategy.
Yeah, I like his strategy. I like what he said. He said, okay, this is the area we have to go in, but I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to at least give an opportunity for those dollars to be used in a creative, capitalism marketplace so that those dollars can be beta tested in different environments, and that's the waiver system that he's come up with. So so instead of just doing an overall blanket and increasing the income requirements for that, he has turned around and said, let's just take it and let's take these waivers and let's give them to people who might be able to do something different with it, and let's see what kind of comes out of it. And I think that's a great strategy.
So where do you think, obviously, if it's on the governor's, if it's his strategy that he's choosing to come up with and he has the House and the Senate here, I would figure in some form or fashion, if it doesn't pass this year, you'll see it come up again and you'll see it come up again. And so it's fair to say in the next 2 to 4 years that something is going to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And not everything that they want to do passes at the first, at the first broad brush. And there are things that need to change, and that's totally fair. To implement that, how different do you think that's going to make healthcare for the average consumer in the state of Georgia?
You have to separate individual marketplace from employer-sponsored healthcare, first of all.
So the vast majority of people will have no impact on it whatsoever.
I think until they start impacting the distribution model, which is where the majority of our 331 million people in America get health care through their employer. So until they start pinching into that, I think it's a uninsured, underinsured, non-insured model, and so that helps those people, maybe even some of the underinsured, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's an awful big grab on a financial cost. And if you've traveled anywhere around the world, go to Croatia, go to Europe, go to Canada, and they tout all of these. The U.S. touts how great these systems are, but it doesn't take long when you go to Croatia and you realize there's a state-run plan, and those buildings are dimly lit, they're cinder block, and they're just something that you wouldn't want to go into. Then there's a second system, which is a cash pay system. And that system is just a beautiful, very high-tech environment. And so you end up creating a dual system that actually discriminates against anybody that doesn't have money. So, roll this forward 20 years, it's pretty scary to see that
it's unsustainable.
Well, I mean, what you create is, if you're looking for access to healthcare, if you're looking for supporting the middleman and the lower income people, you eventually end up with a more discriminating system that's only allowed to do the things we can do in America right now for the super rich, and then everybody else gets a state-run health plan because they can't afford it. So I think we have to be very cautious in America right now. This is a tipping point in many areas, and I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but I do think that
I don't know how deep you want to get into this. It's probably a better.
Well, we don't have another 2 or 3 hours, so. What I would say is that that I think pumping the brakes on this and slowing down the use of that capital into a voucher system to help drive ingenuity is a great diversion on the national agenda of trying to create a socialist single payer thing.
What's your end goal? As a business owner who really is just passionate about the education process in healthcare, and running into this giant machine that is, the United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Humana machine. How does this end? Do you think that the day comes where there are enough people around the country who do what you do that they've made a dent in it? Or do you think that they eventually find their way up to Washington and lock you out permanently?
I think we're in the Wizard of Oz phase, and don't look behind the curtain. And I think what's happening right now is we're pulling the veil back on that curtain just a little bit, and you're watching, the people behind the curtain pull handles and twist levers and move things around. And I think we're going to continue to see that. I think that this is a growing swell of consultants and cost management consultants in America. There's a group of about 18 of us that are trying to do the right thing, and we're trying to teach.
18. That's it.
About 18.
Yeah, you talk about pissing in the wind, man. There you go.
There you go. But it's one account, it's one broker, it's one opportunity at a time. And what we're just saying is, if you're a CEO, if you're a CFO, if you're a mayor or a chairman, take some time to just think that there might be a better way of doing something, and listen to an educational conversation on how it works, so that you can at least be informed, so that when you go into your next renewal cycle, or somebody shows up at your door and they're trying to sell you the same old thing over and over again, that you have at least enough basic knowledge to say, at some point in time, I don't believe this. I'm tired of this. I'd like to do something different. And it doesn't cost you anything to have a cup of coffee with me. I'll buy the coffee.
Well, you have been a very inspiring guy out in North Fulton to watch your business grow and to take off, and to see how you've made such a difference with the folks at Kings Ridge. Knowing that marketing your business is probably incredibly difficult, because you're going at war against the status quo, but you're also going to war with companies that have no limit as to the amount of money that they're going to spend.
Tremendous status quo resource obstacle in getting the message out. And here's the real problem is, for 20 years, the CEOs, the CFOs, and people making these decisions have been convinced, taught, led, shown in the media that there's nothing they can do about it, and they've acquiesced to a status quo environment. And we are just trying to educate against status quo, and I think it was Aristotle or somebody said, if you do the same thing over and over again expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. I forget who said that.
Let's hope it's Aristotle.
We'll say it's Aristotle. Somebody can call into your show and tell you that it's different, but my goal is to educate so that we just don't do the same thing over and over again. And there's a lot at stake in America right now on this particular subject as a percentage of our GDP. It's huge. It's a huge topic.
It is. Wendell, thank you for coming in today. I appreciate you. How does somebody get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm Wendell Strickland. I'm the CEO of Strongside Solutions. So you can simply go to strongsidesolutions.com. We have a phone number, 770-4STRONG. Isn't that cool? So we got.
Now I have to figure out what that number makeup at the end actually is.
Right, or just call my cell phone number, 678-488-5702. Have a cup of coffee with me. Have an aha moment, and have a good day.
Well, thanks everybody. This has been another episode of the Ben Burnett Show on the App and Media Podcast. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Best show in town.
Fastest rated podcast, growing, etc.
Up and down and all around.
Thanks everybody.
Goodbye.
You are just silky smooth, man. How do you get me to talk like that? I love it.